Hello, everyone, and welcome to this new episode of Bootstrapping Your Dreams Show. I'm your host, Manuj Aggarwal, and today we'll be talking with Alejandro D'Andrea. So, Alejandro has a degree in computer science and business administration. Alejandro is currently the Chief Information Officer at Walmart Chile, where he's responsible for the management, implementation, and usability of information and computer technologies. Along with that, Alejandro is also on the advisory board of Talento Digital para Chile. Alejandro, before joining Walmart, worked at Sud, where he started a process as a process lead, and after being promoted and transferred to various roles, he achieved the position of digital transformation manager. Alejandro also has been a consultant in Accenture, and apparently he has also written some 3D brain image segmentation publications. So we'll talk about that. Welcome, Alejandro. How are you doing?
Well, thanks, Manu. I'm doing fine. Hope you are too.
Yeah,
Thanks for the introduction and for the opportunity to be here.
for sure, for sure. So, as we do with all our guests, we like to start with learning a little bit more about your life journey. How did you reach this point in your life? And I know you have an interesting journey, as we discussed previously. So, I'd like you to share a little bit of that with the audience.
Sure. Well, I would say I come from a modest family. My mother was an English teacher, and my parents divorced when I was little, so it was pretty tight at home in terms of economical. So I always knew and was taught that education was very important, and luckily I was able to attend a good school in Argentina. One of the few things that still work is public education. So there are very good universities that are public, and I'm very grateful for that. I had a very good education. But yeah, I was my brother, my mother, and myself at home, and I guess I learned a couple of things. I saw my father pretty frequently anyway, and he taught me a lot of, I think, about discipline and how you can achieve things if you try and practice. He was from the military and also a good sportsman. He was in the Olympics and everything. So I think the routine and the practice and the discipline, I took that from him, and probably from my mother more the creative side. She's like always looking for alternative ways to look at things, and I think that those two things, I think I have to be grateful to them for.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, I couldn't agree more that if you have education, you have discipline and creativity. I think that's pretty much all you need to be successful in life, isn't it?
Yeah, because anything else you can build.
Exactly.
Even the traits that are not natural to you, you can work on them and probably get better.
Yeah. So let me dig a little bit deeper now. You mentioned Argentina. You grew up in Argentina, but now you are in Chile. So I believe there is some interesting story there as well. So can you share that with us?
Yes, well, Cencosud is a company, a retailer that's in 5 countries in Latin America. It's mostly based in Chile. So I started in Argentina, which is the second largest country for them. And I worked there for like 9 years. But sooner or later, you end up here in Chile with them because it's like the executive committee and everything is here. So when I started working in Agile and digital and I sold the idea of creating a digital transformation, management office. I had to move here, so this is where I started. Yeah.
I see. So you brought up an interesting term, digital transformation, and a lot of people are talking about, especially with whatever is going on. But when I talk to a lot of people, they don't seem to really understand exactly what it means. So, according to you, what does it mean? Like, how do you implement it? What does that mean? What are the benefits? Can you describe that term, digital transformation, to us?
Absolutely. Well, for me, it's from the beginning. It was a lot more than technology. I came from technology. Then when the office started, I got out of there and I went to strategy and eventually directly to the CEO. And for me, digital transformation was 9 things. One was strategy. So I worked with the group in trying to make sure that the strategy became something actionable. For example, if you use, I don't know, lean value tree or OKRs or whatever tool you use, but you have to have clear goals and clear metrics to make sure that you are achieving those goals. And from there, you have to. I had a innovation office. I tried to create with the businesses the portfolio management practice. For me, that's key. A portfolio management practice that's agile, and that is always connecting your effort with the strategy. So why am I doing this? Because strategically, I said that this was important. So making sure that that link is there, and once you are executing a project in an agile fashion, which was another one of the things we worked on, of course, but once you are executing the project or the product, you want to make sure that the metrics are moving in the right direction. You want to connect back to strategy. So it's a link there, strategy, portfolio, and agility that you have to be very careful with. And aside from that, data, HR, culture, many things that and it's all a system. You can't do just one. You can't do just agile or technology if you don't take care of strategy and culture. So for me, digital transformation is a new way to look at the entire company, where you want to end up with these autonomous teams that are clear on the strategy and are able to come up with ideas and realize the ideas and move the strategy forward. But that takes a lot of time, and people are not used to that. Not the managers, not the teams themselves. So you have to look at the whole system.
Yeah. So how did you bring about this kind of a massive change? Because as you said, like, when you talk about bringing about this level of change, people are not very, they're not very enthusiastic about change, a drastic change. So how did you navigate that? How did you navigate the human element and motivate the teams to adopt this?
I would say I had different experiences. In Cencosud, it was like you were in different companies because they have different business units, and then Walmart is another world. So I would say I will paint two scenarios. One is the one where the top-down alignment is not very clear. It's very typical that you have a general manager that says, yes, let's go digital, but in practice, nothing changes. So in those cases, I recommend you have to look for very specific sponsors that you can work with and do pilots and lighthouses projects, things like that create momentum. So you have to be very careful in selecting the first ones so that they have some level of impact, but also they have good support from these people from the business. And once you have that, you have to go out and sell to everyone. This is what they're saying. This is why this is good. So that's a very bottom-up approach. It takes a lot of time, but that's the way to go. Everyone says that probably. You have to pick the right project and start selling.
Yeah.
On the other hand, the ideal scenario for me is where you have a good alignment and your general manager actually does things to move this forward. And you have to take that opportunity because that accelerates things a lot. So, for example, if the general manager says, let's gather in 4 months with all the teams that are making products and let's review their purpose, their KPIs, their learnings, their feedback loops, things that are very, aspirational in terms of agility. Yeah. That moves everyone. So everyone's worried that they have to show this and they have to learn what that is, and so that little thing that's one meeting that's set in 4 months can pull from a lot of things, and it's probably just that, but that makes all the difference. So having a good alignment from the top is, for me, it's a catalyst that has a lot of power.
So buy-in from the top management and clear objectives and clear timelines motivate the teams to adopt that strategy.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you brought up another point, which is agile. And obviously, coming from a technology background, I completely understand what you're talking about. But it is also surprising that a traditional brick and mortar company like Walmart or others, they also use agile methodologies. So can you tell us whether these practices, first of all, maybe you can speak a little bit about agile and how you're implementing it, but also can you help the audience understand how these methodologies can be implemented in traditional brick and mortar businesses and how they are useful?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a caveat there that at least in Walmart it happens. You still have traditional projects because there are things that are created centrally in the US and they're brought to the market. So you have to just implement those. So you have a degree probably if you were in a .com company, an e-commerce company, you could probably have all product teams or agile teams, and that's all you know. But in this world, you have that duality of having traditional projects and agile projects. But to the extent that you can implement agile, it's very powerful because for me the main difference in agile is not not mainly the iteration or the gathering. That's all very useful. But for me, the main difference when you see a powerful agile team is when they have a clear purpose that is not to build technology. So I'm here because why are you here? I'm here because that customer needs to wait less in line, or they need to make seamless returns or whatever. So that purpose, that clarity for the entire team, not just the product owner, but the developers, the QA, everyone knows what they're trying to achieve, and they try to get there any way they can. That's when you see a powerful agile team. When you see, I've seen teams where the developers would call customers to their phone and say, I know you had an error in the page. I just saw that. Sorry for that. Let me fix that. I'll get back to you, the developer. So that's very powerful. That the sense of purpose that those teams get, and the actual results, because they are focused on the results and not just delivering things. That's for me agile. That when I see that, we're there, and you can do a lot of things to make it better and improve efficiency and productivity, but the main thing for me is that clarity and purpose and the shared understanding.
So connecting with the customer and understanding the end benefit that we are providing to the customer, right?
Exactly.
And I think agile also, like, especially in the smaller businesses, there is not a lot of structure, there is not a lot of processes that have been laid out. So agile, I think, even if people consider it at a smaller scale, it can help them get things done, because otherwise it's very chaotic generally to figure out what is going on in the company, what is going on in the project, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, the flexibility and the autonomy. The autonomy is very powerful if you know how to use it.
Yeah.
So in an ideal world, you will tell the whole company, this company formed by autonomous teams. You will tell them, this is our strategy. This is what we want to achieve. These are the key metrics that we want to move. Help us figure out what to do, and they would come with ideas and test things and improve processes and get together and change processes without having to go to a committee or a manager. If you can achieve that the speed at what the company can move is very powerful, and the actual results are very powerful also.
Awesome. That's great. And now let's go back to the digital transformation. As I was saying, with the lockdowns and the pandemic and everything, I think more and more companies are, either voluntarily or just by the forces of the economic forces, they are adopting more and more digital economies, going online, selling things online. What are your views, long-term views, in terms of digital adoption? How are things going to play out? Are we going to accelerate the adoption of digital technologies, or this is just a short-term phase? What do you think?
I think it's gonna accelerate. We already seen it, but I think it will stick in the future. People are discovering things that are much more comfortable for them. Not for everyone. I mean, a lot of people want to go to the supermarket and touch the food and select, and that's great. That's fine. But this, I'm sure it will stay accelerated. And I think there's a challenge that has come forward for now. We was a little forward in the future, but now it's closer, and it's how to make the economics of e-commerce work for everyone. I mean, e-commerce is a lot more expensive. The margins are a lot lower, if any at all. For many, they're still losing money. So now that it's becoming a bigger part of your sale, you have to solve for that. So I think we will see a lot of innovation in the next years around automation and things like that. that were still, being tried in some areas, but everyone was a little shy about it. I think now it will explode. We will have to go very quickly to those models if we want to make this a profitable business.
Yeah. And speaking of innovation, I was really pleasantly surprised when you told me the story about how Walmart, handled this whole period of uncertainty. I mean, I'll be completely honest, and I shared this with you earlier as well. When I thought of Walmart, it never sort of, I never linked that brand with innovation. But you
Mhm.
changed my point of view. So I'd love to share this, for you to share the story of how you planned it all out. How did you execute that, and what were the results through this period?
I came to Walmart because I knew that something was going on here and was very interesting, and I found a lot more than that even. If you listen to Doug McMillan there in the US, our CEO, our global CEO, he will speak about product teams and KPIs and agility and innovation. So from there, all the organization is very much aligned. And also, I found two things in Walmart: alignment and culture. The culture is actually very good. I was surprised how collaborative it is, not just in our country, but also with the US, with other countries. We get together every week, almost every day. It's very collaborative. So when you have those things, those two things, alignment and collaboration, you can move very fast. And I found in the last few years, even in the last year after I came in, a new CTO or a global CTO was appointed. It wasn't even a role for Walmart, but now Doug McMillan said, yes, I needed a global CTO, and he created the position, and he brought someone, Suresh Kumar, with a lot of experience in the digital world. So, and you can see how that is permeating to all the structure and the way we are working. So we are accelerating fast towards this new way. It was already happening. Now it's happening a lot faster. So it's exciting. There's a lot of people doing things, thousands of people doing innovation and products, and you can connect with any of them and collaborate. It's very exciting.
Yeah. So you were also telling me about how Walmart Chile was able to implement the e-commerce component and transition over a lot of systems very, very quickly. So can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, we were already in a way like everyone else. We were in that path. But when this accelerated, I think like everyone, we struggled a bit with the volume, and not just from the technology's point of view, but mostly from the logistics operation, the picking in store, the delivery. It all gets to a proportion that wasn't handled before. So. And I would go back to the focus and collaboration. One thing that surprised me, even with many years of working in Agile and digital transformation, I had never seen a company this big being so focused to that degree. So suddenly you had like four things that mattered, and that was the same four things for everyone. So it wasn't like different agendas for logistics or merchandising. No, we all knew that these four things were the most important ones. Everyone got together and they started trying things. It was agility in its purest form, not necessarily with the most refined method, but in essence, collaboration, shared focus, experimentation. And I saw what agility was capable of doing, aside from the product teams, which is what you see most often. This was a whole company being agile, and behaving like one team. And I think that's the most powerful thing I've seen in this crisis, and the one thing I'm trying to maintain in the future. I think we always need to have a few things that are the most important, and that's the focus for everyone. If you have any more time, you can do other things, but those 4, those 10 or whatever are the most important for everyone. And I think that's the key, actually.
So clarity on the purpose and alignment and collaboration between everyone, pushing in the right direction, all of them combined. Those are the key things that So it's very interesting you brought it up. Like, a private company like Walmart, which is a global company, is able to do that. As How will you contrast that with the response governments are having to this global crisis? Like, I mean, obviously every country is doing things differently, but being part of a large organization who has gone through some rapid changes, how will you contrast that against what the governments are doing across the world?
Well, that's a tough question. I think every government is a world in itself. Some have proven. I mean, nobody knows how to handle this. But you've seen some that are very very quick and very agile in their decision making, and others that try to stick to their own politics. And and I think it's the same that happens with the company. The ones that are agile and learn and have feedback loops and change direction, I think those are the ones that are striving and doing better, versus the ones that think, no, this is my direction, I won't change my mind, and they realize too late that wasn't probably the case. I think this is a good parallel when you see a company or a government.
Yeah. So being flexible and open to new ideas is very important.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, let's shift gears a little bit. Now, I mean, obviously, as we go through this transition, a lot of human behavior is going to change. People are unemployed. People are sitting at home. They have lots of time. Does this change things, the focus and the intensity of things like security and privacy and scalability? These kind of things that were already concerns before the pandemic, but as we go through this rapid transformation, do the focus changes a little bit on these things?
I think it was, like you said, it was already a focus, and it was coming. At least in the case of Chile, there were laws in the making, in the government, and we were already working on that. And I'm not sure that it was accelerated by this. I think it was already in an accelerated path. We were working, and we are working hard on that. It probably changed in terms of scale. Yes, you probably have more customers in the digital world than before, so you will have to be even more careful and go faster. But it was already a speeding train for us. Yeah.
Okay, that's okay. And so, in terms of the human behavior, what are your views? How are things going to change? Are we going to continue to work from home, social distance for the foreseeable future, or do you think things will come back to normal relatively quickly?
I'm not sure about social distance, but from home working and the work life balance and all of that, I do think that many of the things we're seeing are going to stick in the future. Even from a competitive landscape in the work. I mean, in terms of being an attractive company for people, if you want to attract talent, I think this will be a differentiator, because companies are already saying we're going to keep working from home at least 50% of the time when this goes back to normal. And this is a very powerful offer for a lot of people, even working from a different country. There are many things that I think the companies that are able to capitalize on that from a benefits point of view will probably win the talent the talent fight that is already tough, because everyone, well, it depends on the industry, but many industries like ours are on a shortage. We're already on a shortage of talent, and now it's gotten worse. Yes, I think that many of the things that we have discovered that work and are better for a lot of people are gonna stick for long. Yeah,
that's great. And so some people are very skeptical of this, and some people say, working from home, how do you make sure people are working? How do you make sure they're productive? What like, do you think these arguments hold any truth to them, or what has been your experience working from home? Have you been more productive? How about your teams? Collaboration has been easier or difficult?
I think well, we all suffer from Zoom itis or whatever you call that. I mean, we are working more hours probably than before, and we're not sure why. I think people are not sure why. Uh, but on the other hand, you can take a break, have lunch with your kids, or whatever, and I think the balance is positive. So yeah, I think this is the new way.
I see. I see. Now, as companies or teams go through rapid changes, obviously there are a lot of hurdles, a lot of mistakes that are made. Even though, as you said, being agile helps you address that as efficiently as possible. But in your entire career, can you share with us any lessons you learned, any mistakes you made, which stuck with you for a long time? I mean, you mentioned when you were growing up, the discipline and the education. Obviously, those were really strong foundations. But in your professional career, anything that you can share in terms of lessons that you learned?
Yes, I would say my biggest or my toughest time was when I joined Cencosud from Accenture.
Mhm.
I haven't really managed large teams before. I was more technical. I had a technical background, so suddenly I have a rather large team, people that had twice my age, even in my team. And a couple of months after that, I had a very big implementation that went really bad. We changed the entire POS, point of sale system. The systems are running the cash register,
Yeah.
uh, and it was very bad for some weeks, day, night, weekends, every calls from the stores.
Yeah.
It's not working. And I remember speaking with someone. I remember receiving 150 calls in one day. So you can imagine, what was that? So I learned a lot from there. I mean, those times where you struggle are the ones where you learn the most, of course. And you learn to be careful with certain things, with change management, with quality of software, with your teams. You There are a lot of things that were a first time for me. I had a crash course, and I had to learn a lot.
I see.
Uh, yeah, very quickly. So that was everything else from there was like an incremental leap,
Right.
but that one was very challenging for me.
I see. So it sounds like you had this huge challenge, but you sort of chipped away at it, like slowly, day by day, and sort of overcame that until it was stable. And now you have the background and experience to handle it multiple times over, right?
Yeah, and try to avoid it mostly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right, great. And now, you have obviously, you have provided a huge benefit to Walmart to be able to compete in this new economy now. But there are a lot of entrepreneurs, small businesses in the audience. And from your point of view, you've looked at e-commerce, you looked at digital transformation. What kind of advice will you give to these smaller businesses or new entrepreneurs in terms of how their approach to sales and marketing should change? How should they look at business in this new socially distant economy to grow their business?
Good question. I, I would say I would always start with focus on the customer. I mean, focus on the feedback loop. I mean, everything's changing so rapidly that any certainty that you had before, you had to validate that again.
Mhm.
So any business plan that you had, any roadmap that you had laid out, I would say go back to the lean startup way, and create have clarity on your hypotheses, how to measure, how to test them, and retest everything. I would say that, because the greater the uncertainty, the more you have to test out things and have a hypothesis. So and now I don't think we have seen more uncertainty than now. So
Yeah,
so
yeah,
I would start there. Yeah.
yeah. You brought up a very good point here. Like, start with the customer. And so, one of the big aspects of understanding the customer is also market research. So, like, do you participate in those activities as well? And if so, what are some of the learnings you can share about market research, and how do you conduct those?
I would say again now, research is a good starting point, but then you have to validate everything, because research doesn't always tell you everything about the customer. The customer will many times tell you what they would do, but then they do a different thing. We are all like that. We are humans, and we think, oh, that would be cool. I would definitely buy that product or whatever, but then you don't do it. So research is a good starting point to have a broad direction of where to go, but then you have to go and get the feedback at each tiny step that you take, and make sure that you adjust and validate your path.
I see. And one of the last questions is obviously, e-commerce companies can offer their products online, but then we have to we have to look at whether the financial infrastructure supports e-commerce, like use of credit card, digital currencies, and things like that. Do you think globally, or at least in Chile or Latin America, the financial infrastructure is there to support the coming wave of digitization, e-commerce, etc.?
I would say in Latin America, it varies a lot from country to country. Some countries are more digitized already. Some have laws that allow for startups to become almost a bank. And for some others, it's impossible. You have to be a bank to do anything. I think COVID, one of the things that people are saying that's going to happen is that we are going to use less cash because of health issues. So it's something that seems to be speeding up, but when I see the differences between the countries, there are still like big gaps. In Chile, in particular, there are interesting things happening, but other countries are still, stuck in the past.
Yeah.
So
it seems like there are multiple challenges. Like the companies need to digitize their systems, and the governments need to help with the crisis. And not only that, but upgrade the infrastructure. So it's going to be very interesting.
Yeah, and it starts with the laws. I think the laws are the first blocker. But there are many people and startups and companies that are already in other countries that are eager to jump into new countries once those laws are updated. So I think it starts there with the governments, and once that's set, you'll have a lot of people trying new things.
That's awesome. Well, great. Thank you so much for being with us today, sharing your views, and taking us behind the scenes of one of the largest companies in the world. And I'm a customer there too, on many days. Thank you so much. And please do come back. We'll arrange another interview in a few months and see how things are going at Walmart.
Okay. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
You too.
Bye-bye.